Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I actually wanted to touch on the issues that I've been hearing and that I've been noticing involving females and women in the rap music industry. And I basically wanted to give my 2 cents on this. And I basically also wanted to talk about how other people's thoughts on it actually do make sense and are valid. So rap music and, the hip hop genre is very popular right now, and it has been for quite some time, for a couple of years. And it definitely is so popular that it seems like anyone can get in, especially if you're a guy. A lot of people now want to slap on the label rapper. A lot of people think that they can, just rap music, and then especially if they have a big following or if they blow up, then they can just get into this rap genre just quick and easy. However, the case always seems to be so difficult and more intense and extremely harder for women. It honestly seems that women in rap have to prove themselves more, and we have seen this ever since the 80s. So women in rap had to prove themselves more, especially in order to be not only seen but respected. Now, Nicki Minaj came onto the scene after Lil Mama. And if you remember Lil Mama, she's the rapper who, very good lyricist, by the way, but she's the rapper who sang that very catchy dance-like song called Lip Gloss. She rapped the song Lip Gloss. Now the image and the culture of rap music has changed, especially in, the 2010s. That's when we really saw a shift in the changing in rap. And Nicki Minaj actually came more in as a more packaged mainstream industry rapper. And I've actually heard from other people who do listen to rap music, especially the men, of course, but I've heard from people that would say, oh, Nicki Minaj, she's not a rapper. I remember she first came onto the scene back in 2009, 2010, 2011, and I would talk about Nicki Minaj, and people would say, oh, she's not a rapper. She's not really a rapper. And honestly, I would be less inclined to take that advice from a man, because I feel like the criticism towards female rappers is a lot harsher. And I personally think that, they're definitely looking at women in rap from a male perspective, which I don't really like. And judge me here, but I am not the biggest rap fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the biggest hip hop head or the biggest rap fan. My genres that I really like are R&B, reggae, and pop music. Those are the main 3 genres I like. But I do like indie stuff and alternative stuff. So yeah, judge me there. And to be honest, although I don't necessarily want to take a criticism towards female rappers or women in music from men, in this case, I do see in a way what music lovers and music listeners and hip hop rap lovers can, I do see where they're coming from a little bit in their criticism, because, they definitely, some of them definitely like that, back in the day hood stuff. But Nicki Minaj definitely came in the rap game, or at least when she blew up. She definitely was a rapper that did pop-like music. So she was basically packaged and marketed and put out there as more of a, pop star rapper. And she's not a pop star who happens to rap. She's just a rapper who does pop-like music. So that's probably why, I think that's one of the catalysts or the starting points of how the rap industry and other genres of music, of course, but in this case, the rap music industry has changed and shifted. So now rap music is not what it sounds like before. And of course, music evolves as the years change. We don't always stay the same forever. That's understandable. But it seems like when it comes to this, it's kind of getting away from what it is. And rap music in general, everything is too trap. Everything is too club-like. Everything is too, I won't say robotic, but it definitely seems too technological. And there's nothing wrong with adding new elements of the future into music, but it just feels like music in general, but in this case rap music, is really not, sticking to the foundations that it was on, completely at least. This is why some people may consider Lil Mama and the people who came before her, like the MC Lights, the Missy Elliott's, the Queen Latifah's, the Lauryn Hills, real rappers or real MCs slash lyricists, because they actually did pen game. They had their own pen game. And of course, Nicki Minaj writes her songs too, but I'll get into that in a minute. It seems like those who came before her are the quote-unquote real rappers, because there is a certain level of authenticity that existed back then. And again, things change, things evolve, we don't stay in the same spot forever. But what made rap music, or hip-hop music are those elements, especially the 4 elements of hip-hop. So you had DJ, MC, graffiti, and breakdance. You barely see graffiti and breakdance now, and you know, DJ, I wouldn't say it's obsolete, but it definitely is not hyped up compared to MC. Everything is MC now, and that's fine, but it just definitely is not where it was before. And I think just like R&B, people have criticized R&B for this. It should get back to its roots. I'm sorry, call me an old head, but I think that's one of the reasons people are getting tired of not only females in rap, but in certain areas of rap in general. Now, this video is centered on females, so let me get into that. So now fast forward to Cardi B's rise to fame. Okay, so Bodak Yellow blows up, and honestly, I was very astonished at the blow up of Bodak Yellow, because not only was it her first major hit, but it blew up really quickly, really fast. It even broke a record, or at least tied with the record of Lauryn Hill, where she was it was 20 years later, or 20 plus years later, where she made a #1 hit without a feature, and it was a solo #1 hit as a rap, and she was the first female rapper to win Best Rap Album. And honestly, I do see where people are coming from with that Grammy win. Now, congrats to Cardi's success, but I honestly think it kind of pioneered this idea in people's heads when they saw Cardi blow up. And I think a lot of it was marketing and promotion, as that's really what you're supposed to do with any song, because Bodak Yellow actually did what Lauryn Hill's Doo-Wop That Thing, which is my favorite Lauryn Hill song, right next to X Factor, but it's one of my favorite Lauryn Hill songs. And Cardi blew up with that song, went to #1. I do understand people's criticism of Cardi and, you know, her accolades and everything, because Cardi came into the rap music game not really being passionate about music. These are words out of her mouth, especially if you look at past videos. She said before Bodak Yellow blew up, she never really planned on making a full-fledged music career, or, you know, becoming, I guess, famous through music, or, you know, taking rap music seriously. She said it was more of a hustle and was just a way to make money. And you do see this with now these personalities on Instagram, YouTube, who are on reality TV like Love and Hip Hop. So when she blew up, I understand why people may give her success a side eye. And I honestly, and in a way, am in some agreement with that. And what I noticed with people like Cardi, and this is no shade to Cardi, I'm not a barb, I'm no Barty gang, I am a person who's just looking at this from both different angles, okay? The thing about Cardi is she's an influencer who just did music, and it just happened to work for her. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the label that she's under. And I do see this with Atlantic and with things like Epic and with things like other music labels, major labels especially. Like, they're not wrong for using marketing as a way, and even as a catalyst, to blow up a certain artist, okay? That's what you're supposed to do, okay? As a business, that's what you're supposed to do. However, I think a lot of it nowadays with labels, it's no longer about talent anymore. And I feel like they focus more on marketing, or marketing someone popular, than they do someone with the actual talent. And I'm just saying that they should do it with both. If you're going to do this, if you believe that marketing can benefit anyone, then you should really put that same marketing and promotion towards other artists, especially the talented ones. More so the talented ones than the people who just got famous off of social media, like the Blue Faces and the Little Pumps of the world, and at the end of the day they'll come out with one album and they'll come out with another album and that album won't do so well. And a lot of times I don't see these people maintaining longevity in the rap game. I'm going to be honest, because a lot of people like Cardi and the Bluefaces and the Lil Pumps of the world, now I have no problem with them trying to perfect the craft if that's what they're doing, but a lot of them will tell you, and a lot of them will look like, and you can tell by their actions that they don't really take music seriously. They don't take music seriously, and they'll tell you that, you know, this is just, especially if the label signs them for like a couple $1 million, they'll take it because some of them really don't know about money as much as they think they do. But they will tell you they're here for a good time, not a long time, okay? So they don't want to maintain longevity, and you can tell they won't maintain longevity. So after Cardi, I noticed that I've started seeing this trend of strippers turned rappers, or influencers turned rappers, okay, or rappers, I should say. Because now every person who used to be a stripper, or every person who used to be on reality TV, like Love and Hip Hop is notorious for this, okay? Every person who used to be on either reality TV or it was a stripper all of a sudden wants to get into music. And I don't fully know everyone's circumstances, so I'm not judging completely. But every season, like I said in my last video with Jay Adrian and Snoop, every season there's always at least one person that's a stripper or used to be a stripper or is just famous on IG and Instagram, Twitter, who else? Or any other, you know, social media platform. Now they want to do music. Now, oh, I can, you know, spit a little bit, and I write my own stuff. And again, if they're new to this and they are perfecting the craft, I have no problem with it. We don't always start off being the best or good, okay? But let's just be honest. A lot of people who want to up and decide to get into music after being a stripper and, you know, they don't have the skill to back it up, a lot of them will just rely on their looks. They will rely on, you know, the same formulaic strategic subject matter. And a lot of people believe that if it worked for Cardi, it can work for them. And things are possible, no doubt. I mean, but I do see even the ones that aren't on reality TV or have never been on reality TV are following the same formula of stripper turned rapper, or, you know, girl with a good body, Instagram model type body turned rapper. So we see this with Cash Doll, with Mulatto. We see this with, you know, people like, who else? We see this with Asian Doll, Cuban Doll. And I'm not saying all of them were strippers, but if you hear some of the backstories to them, Cash Doll was a stripper and was a dancer. I'm not sure if Mulatto was, but I know like Just Brittany was a stripper. She was on a couple of reality TV shows, and she used to be a stripper. So now she wants to rap and do music. And look, there may be people who like her music. It's personally not my cup of tea. I've heard her songs and I'm like, some of it is good, some of it has a good message, but others you can tell like she'll be doing this for a long time, and I don't know if she'll ever blow up, especially like Cardi. I don't see it. I'm sorry. Now, although I do see some people's criticism with females in rap or female rappers, I do not necessarily like to hear them 100% from men, because sometimes when a man is criticizing a woman from a male perspective and he's not a woman, I just feel like, you know, even if the criticism is necessary, how do I know that this is not coming from some biased male perspective versus actual constructive criticism? So I'd rather hear like the OGs of female rappers or the OG women in rap criticize the female rappers. I'd rather hear that, but that could just be me. But I've heard from the men, especially on YouTube, that 95% of female rappers suck, or female rappers just suck in general. And I find a problem with that. And is it coming from a level of misogyny? Because there is a level of misogyny in the hip-hop music industry. This is nothing new. And the reason I don't like to hear this hypercriticism from the men towards female rappers, even if there should be a level of criticism that is necessary, it's funny how they are so hypercritical towards the women, but they're never this hypercritical towards the men. So you'll have a lot of people going back and forth on who their favorite male rapper is, and it could just be an opinion. There's no, fighting for the top spot unless it's among the fan bases. But when it comes to the women, there can only be one person. There can only be one person at the top spot for the women. And this is what I don't like, especially because it's a male-dominated arena in the rap industry and music in general, but in this case the rap industry, and it's mostly populated by black males. It's them who swear up and down that they're not misogynist or sexist, but they use the same language and talking points and some way ideologies as sexist and misogynist men, and sometimes the women are like this too, no doubt. But I find it funny how the women get so hyper criticized, and this is why I backed away from listening to people like T.I. The man uses one big word, and he thinks he's he's so smart and so woke, and I stopped listening to him because he is type misogynist, and whether he realizes it or not, because it's funny how he was on his podcast saying, okay, there can only be one room for women. It's only between Lil Kim and Nicki Minaj. Who's the queen of rap? Who's this? They won't even talk about the Lauryn Hills or the Missy Elliott's or the Queen Latifah's, MC Lights, Rhapsodies, the Tierra Wax, because they're new. People like No Name. I've heard No Name spit, and she's not really gimmicky. She's just making her music, and she's dope. She's really good. You can't find one woman. You can only find one woman for the top spot, but you can have several seats. You can have several seats at the table for the men, and they can all eat, and there's room for everyone to eat, and there's you can go back and forth on who's your favorite rapper out of all of them, but there really is no fighting amongst the men in the industry about who can have the number one spot. There's not too many people speculating and starting beef with the men unless the men start the beef, right? But for the women, even other women do this too. There always some speculation about beef, especially with the whole Nicki versus Cardi situation. Yes, Cardi blew up and came into the game not really passionate about music. She's admitted to having a ghostwriter, and she's, admitted to not really wanting to be lyrical and not wanting to, make lyrical music. She's just focused on making money. And of course, people get into whatever career field they're getting into. You are getting into there to make money. I mean, that's just the essential, that just makes sense, right? However, because Nicki was actually out here, she didn't start off as an Instagram or social media personality, because that time that didn't exist, and she was actually writing her stuff, and of course she may have had other people write her stuff too, okay, but for the most part Nicki Minaj does write her stuff and does take pride in lyricism to a certain extent, whether you feel that way or not. And she was actually the one out here selling mixtapes, and back before social media was a thing, so she was pretty much doing it more so from the ground up compared to Cardi and a lot of these other rappers that are coming into the game right now. And so this is why, in terms of being lyrical and in terms of merit and in terms of grinding from the bottom and working your way up, I have to be Team Nicki over here, because I honestly have looked at Cardi's success and said, are we getting to the point where merit and lyricism and actually being about it, is that going to be obsolete because now just anyone can get in? And I think there's a level of a formulaic thing going on here where you have to have these three main elements or a few elements outside of having talent or outside of having passion for the music. It seems like ever since Cardi B and her blow up and glow up, it seems ever since that there has been this cookie cutter strategy in the industry amongst female rappers and Joe Budden said this on his podcast, or I think it was Maul who said it on his podcast, that there's this cookie cutter strategy within rap, and that they are boxing these females into this monolithic, way of not only rapping, but a way of imagery as well. So on Joe Budden's podcast, where they kind of, criticize Cardi B's songwriting on the wall and how, it's not hood enough, and she needs to come back with the hood-ish, and it's too pop, and she's going to do too much pop. And he mentioned how, okay, they're starting to see this little thing, this trend going on, or this pattern going on with females in rap, where you get a girl, and this also applies to the men, but in this case, female rap, you get a girl, you have her, you know, put her in the booth, write a song for her, put her in there, experiment with that song, but at the end of the day, it's going to be all marketing promotion. You know, you sell her on her looks, her personality, you make her be sexy, you let her be, you know, funny, crazy, ratchet, and then that's going to go. And he talks about something that I agreed with. Look, I don't always agree with people like Joe Budden, because one thing I notice about these, you know, past rappers who are like in their late 30s, 40s, and, you know, aren't really like big like a Jay-Z or Kanye or Diddy or something like that, they now want to start talking all intellectual and woke and start podcasts and whatnot, and it's just ridiculous. And honestly, it's the same thing I'm seeing with this quarantine. These celebrities now just are so bored that they're actually exposing themselves and making them very unlikable, but that's beside the point. But one thing I can say is that I can find some agreement in what the men on the podcast were saying, because I've noticed this. There seems to be this trend with females in rap where instead of focusing on the lyricism, we're going to push out the person who looks good. And I feel this is why I do respect the OG legends of females like the MC Lights, like the Queen Latifahs, the Salt and Peppers, the Lauryn Hills, the Missy Elliott's, the who else, the Rhapsodies, and, you know, the Tierra Whacks and the No Names. Like, although I don't really listen to like rap that much, when I do hear a song by them, I can tell who's like writing their own stuff and who's lyrical and everything like that. At this point, rap music or hip hop music, really, it's not really rap. It's more so trap, and people just spit over a trap beat. And it seems like that's also the case with the rap game, where you just add a trap beat to anything and you just think that that's going to be a hit. A lot of people really, I noticed there are some people who are trash. They are trash rappers. And again, if they perfect the craft, that's great. But they are trash rappers, and some of them continue to be trash, but they really have an arrogance about them that they feel like, okay, as long as you get a trap beat to something and you just spit over a trap beat, you're good. And this is why rap music is not really rap music anymore. It's not. Another thing females in rap or female rappers get criticized on is the subject matter on which they are talking about. So a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, the subject matter seems to be the same, and and a lot of them are so similar that you really don't know exactly which rapper is which rapper, because the subject matter definitely seems to be the same. It'll be about sex. It'll be about how, you know, their sex is the best. It'll be about their bodies. It will be about, you know, scamming, so to say. It will be about it will be about getting money, all that stuff. And what I find problematic about that is, one, they're criticized more harshly with it, even though I do agree that they don't need to be always overtly sexual, which is why I liked I think the only past or rapper or back in the day rapper that I can remember that was really overtly sexual was Lil' Kim, where every other female rapper, there was a level of fluidity and they were able to be in the same realm. You know what I'm saying? Even though hip hop wasn't as big back then as it is now, but still, it wasn't as cookie cutter as it is now. So now you have rap females, even if it just could be them and the stuff they like to rap about, it seems like the only way you can be successful as a female rapper is if you talk about the same subject matter in the same vulgar, overtly sexual way that men do it. And the only issue I find with that, two issues actually. One, I find it very, very problematic because not only do overt sexuality, nothing's wrong with talking about sex, or nothing's wrong with rapping about sex. R&B has done it all the time. But the thing is, R&B and past day rap, that was very lyrical. You could be covert with it and still talk about the subject matter because it's a realistic, relatable, and natural subject matter. However, when it comes to the females in rap, especially today, it just feels like that's all they can talk about or all they can rap about. And sometimes, like even the male rappers, they don't really live that life outside of the rap, okay? Two, what I find problematic about it is, why are the women being so hyper criticized about that, but the men do it all the time? And that's the thing. Why I feel like females in rap shouldn't always have to try to emulate the same thing the men are doing, because I feel like the pressure to compete in this, or to not only just compete but to win, or to just have a seat at the table in this industry with the rappers, the females feel like they have to go extra hard by doing the same exact thing the men are doing, rapping how the men rap on what and what the men rap. And you don't have to do that. And trust me, it doesn't necessarily make them more respectable or more respected as they think they do. Yeah, they may blow up, they may get attention, they may get noticed, but at the same time, you will tell, like, especially the men don't respect it. I will hear the men say they may like they may find the girl attractive, but they don't respect them as an artist. But they'll tell you that the Tierra Whacks or the No Names of the world or the Lauryn Hills of the world, they respect them as artists and see them as artists rather than, sexy, good-looking females with great bodies who are trying to rap. But the thing about Megan Thee Stallion is, I will give you something about Megan Thee Stallion. She has her own pen game. She writes her stuff, even if it's like that ratchet music, overt sexuality. I can at least say she is lyrical, and especially because she writes her own stuff, I'm going to give that to her. But, maybe the overt ratchet stuff is not my cup of tea. It's not something I would listen to every day, and that could just be me. There is a fan base and a niche for it, so you will find that. But again, it's like some people can tell, even though J. Cole and Kendrick may have similarities, some people can tell that there is a difference between like a J. Cole, a Chance, a Kendrick Lamar, and other rappers. My thing is, though, why are the women treated more harshly for doing the same things that the men are doing, but at the same time, I feel like females in rap shouldn't always have to feel like they need to compete with the men by doing exactly what and how the men are doing, and I think that does them more of a disservice. I am actually glad that there are more females in rap coming up and more females in the music industry coming up, but I also want to see more variety. I feel like, staying true to yourself may be hard, because that's another thing Lil Mama talked about back in the day when she said, is she willing to sell her body to, be respected or to be seen in the rap or taken seriously in the rap game? And even if you do sell solely on sex, eventually that won't be that won't gain you the respect amongst the industry heads to begin with. And it's one thing to sell sex or sell sexy, but it's another thing to only sell on that. Because even on Joe Budden's podcast, he said, with this cookie cutter formulaic strategy that they have with females rapping or females in rap, he's saying it's only going to be so long that the fans are going to realize, or the hip hop heads or the music lovers are going to realize that, this person won't even last 5 years or only has a good 5 years in the industry, because eventually if they don't sell on lyricism or if they don't try something new, sometimes they're going to get tired and they're not going to take them seriously anymore. So again, sex sells, but it can only work for so long. And I want to see more variety in female rappers like we saw back in the day. I know that there were overtly sexual female rappers in terms of the looks, in terms of the subject matter, but you also had like Salt and Peppa rapping about sex, but they were, I think, a little bit more covert with it, and they were also touching on real issues. Queen Latifah is rapping about like domestic violence and UNITY, and and she can spit. Remember a few weeks ago when she came out, or a few days ago when she came out with that whole rap verse? That was all right, and she brought up a lot of references. Okay. Like Missy Elliott, and she was a big girl in rap, but there were other big girls in rap, but she actually put some eclecticism. For some reason, I kind of see a little bit of Missy Elliott and Tierra Whack in terms of, her style and her rapping. Maybe I'm just bugging, but no, it goes to show that there can be variety and fluidity and, different styles in rap music, and it can still count as rap music. And I do think that, yes, there should be more seats at the table for the women to eat and for the women to be. There shouldn't be like this whole, let's pin the women against each other. And Megan Thee Stallion, what I like about Megan Thee Stallion is that she tries to stay out of the drama as much as possible. She even says that sometimes when female rappers beef or female artists beef, it's not really because of them. it'll be because of the fan bases. And the fan bases and the men are notorious for doing this. The men, I even see it on Love and Hip Hop. The men are notorious for starting problems that cause women to fight, and they'll stand over there, and then next thing you know, they'll initiate fights directly or indirectly. They'll initiate fights and they'll be messy, but what they'll do is they'll kind of act like, what's going on? And then they'll say, why can't these women get along? It's because of you guys. You guys and the speculating fan bases, and some fan bases are kind of toxic, I'm not gonna lie. The Barbs, I love that the Barbs are here for their favorite artists, because when Nicki needs that protection because there are people coming out to get her, sometimes for no reason, I'm glad that she has her Barbs to defend her. But I also do think there are some of those Barbs that can be very toxic. Like, they'll go after people, they'll go for the jugular. And you could just not be you could just not be doing anything. You can give slight criticism, constructive criticism, you know what I'm saying? And the Barbs will go after you. And I'm not going to lie, I've never seen Nicki Minaj collab with a lot of female rappers in her career like she has with these new female artists coming up. And the main reason I think that's happening is because she's smart for this too, but she's collabing with these up and coming, hyped up, and when I say hyped up, I don't mean that in a bad way, but she's collabing with these up and coming female rappers like Megan Thee Stallion, like Doja Cat. And if there are other female rappers that'll come, like the Tierra Whacks of the world, and she collaborates with them, I think she's doing that because she's trying to keep herself relevant. Because people criticize like her last album and her last songs, and they say, hey, they didn't chart, they didn't slap. You're losing relevancy. You're losing being relevant. So in order to stay relevant, and it's just business. It's basically just business with Nicki Minaj and all these rappers. And she's smart for that. She's not the only one doing it. But that's what I really think it is, okay? But I also would like to see female rappers collab with other female rappers. You know what I mean? Or just female artists in general collabing with other female artists, especially if it's a good business and associate acquaintance move. We can be cordial and friendly here, or can we be cordial and friendly with the right people? You know what I'm saying? So yes, that's all I had to say so far. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please help me get to 1,000 at least. Don't forget to check out the links down below. Check out Good Loving and stream or buy Good Loving on all streaming platforms. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.